A very good morning, students. I hope everyone is in your good health and all of you are doing well. So, today we're going to start our next chapter of our chemistry portion, that is chapter 3, metals and nonmetals. This is an easy yet an important chapter, and you are very familiar with the term metals and nonmetals because we have been studying about this since our smaller classes. So, metals are those elements which are shiny, which are lustrous, which are hard, they are malleable. All these properties you already know because all these are the physical properties which we have been learning from our younger classes. So, in this chapter, basically, we will be learning about the chemical properties of metals, that is, how do they react with different substances and how are they extracted. So, the first definition of metal would be the elements except hydrogen which forms positive ion by losing electron. This also we have learned in class 9 that metals always lose their electrons as they have either electron 1, 2 or 3 in their outermost shell. So they donate their electrons and acquire positive charge. Example here, this is sodium and it will just lose its one electron and it will acquire a positive charge. That is why it is called as positive ion. And potassium also will donate its one electron and will acquire potassium ion, that is it will become positive charge. And the aluminium will donate their 3 electrons because it has 3 electrons in its outermost shell, so it will become a positive charge ion, that is Al3 plus. Okay, so metals always donate the electrons and they acquire a positive charge, that means they form positive ion. Okay, so hydrogen it also becomes positive ion and it also become a negative ion, but hydrogen is not a metal. Okay, so just remember this, that hydrogen, though it becomes hydrogen plus ion in the case of acids, but it is not an metal. Okay, now non-metals. So the elements which forms a negative ion by accepting or by gaining the electron are called as non-metals. Example, oxygen, it takes 2 electron and it becomes a negative charge ion, that is O2 minus, or chlorine also takes 1 electron and becomes chlorine, a negative ion. So all the elements which acquire a negative charge when they are formed as ions are called as non-metals. So these are the basic definitions of metals and non-metals. So we will be reading about some physical properties of metals and non-metals with the help of the NCERT book. We will be reading activities which are given in your NCERT book. That is the first activity 3.1 is we have to take some samples of iron, copper, aluminium or magnesium which will be available at your homes. So iron is very, very common, which you can get easily. So we have to take these any of these and we have to rub them with the help of sandpaper. Sandpaper is a normal paper which has a very porous surface. That means like it looks like a sand on a paper you would have seen. So when you rub any metal surface with that sandpaper, it becomes so smooth. So it is a property of metal that metals are very shiny. They will become shiny and smooth and lustrous when we will rub them with sandpaper. So this is activity number 1. Then activity number 2 is that you have to cut small pieces of iron, copper, aluminium and magnesium. So whatever you can get, you will just try to cut them with a knife. So what you'll see that you will not be able to cut those metals with the help of knife because metals are very hard. So the physical property of metal is that they are very shiny, they are having a metallic luster. The other property is that they are very hard and they cannot be cut, but there is an exception, that is potassium and sodium are the metals, are the alkali metals which are very soft and they can be cut with the help of knife, but rest of the metals are very hard and they cannot be cut with the knife. Okay. So these are the physical properties of metals. There are another activities in our book, that is the next activity 3.3, in which we have to take some pieces of iron, zinc, lead and copper, whatever we can get at our house, and we have to keep them on a block and we have to start hammering all these metals what we're gonna see that on hammering, these metals start become flat, because metals do have a property that when they are beaten or when they are put on an extreme weight, they just tends to flatten up, which is called as malleability. Like the property of metals to form into thin sheets is called as malleability, and the other property of metal is that they can be drawn into wires. That means all the metals are very very malleable and ductile, so they can change their shape. That is how we use golds and the other metals to make ornaments, because they can be easily beaten up into sheets, and the wires can be drawn out of them. You would have seen copper wires. So because of the property of metals, they can be beaten into sheets and drawn into wires. So the next is activity 3.5. In this activity, we have to take any aluminium or any copper wire whichever is available at your houses. So please don't perform this actually. You can just read this here. We have to take a stand and we have to join that wire with the help of a clamp on the stand, and below it we have to take a spirit lamp or any candle. We have to just burn a flame below the wire, and here at the end of the wire we're gonna keep any wax. We have to paste any wax, or we can just attach the wax. I hope you know what is wax. So we have to attach the wax with the help of a pin. So what we will see that after the heat has been given to the wire will start heating up and the wax will start melting down. That means the fire which we are giving at this end is producing the heat to the last end of the wire. That means the heat is transferring from one end to the other end. That means metals are the good conductor of heat. So next is about the electrical conductivity. We will have to take a battery, a circuit and a bulb. So when we attach the circuit with the battery and the circuit is closed, the bulb will be glowing. But when we'll cut the circuit, the bulb will not glow because the circuit is open now. So in this cut end, we will be keeping any metal of our own choice. For example, we keep any iron nail. We attach an iron nail to this. The circuit will be closed and the bulb will glow, because metals are a good conductor of electricity. So all this property which we have been learning since our previous classes, all these you already know. So these are the physical properties of metal. That is, they are shiny, they are lustrous, they are hard, they have a high boiling point, and they are a very good conductor of heat and electricity. They are sonorous. That means whenever they are beaten, they made a ringing sound. They are malleable and they are ductile. So this is about the physical properties of metal. Now coming to the physical properties of non-metal, that is, they are just the opposite of metals. Like metals are very hard, so non-metals are not hard, they are soft. Metals are very very sonorous, they are very very malleable, ductile, but non-metals are not ductile, they are not beaten into sheets. For example, if we wanna have a piece of sulfur, and we will just beat them with the help of a hammer, what we're gonna see, we will just get the powdered sulfur form. We will not see any flattened up sulfur. That means sulfur do not tends to get into thin sheet. It is not malleable at all. Many different properties of metals as well as non-metals, but there are always some exceptions. Like all the metals are very very hard, but sodium and potassium are not so hard. They can be easily cut with the help of knife. And all the metals are solid at room temperature except mercury, because it is liquid at room temperature. All the metals have highly boiling point, but this gallium and cesium written in your book, please go through these exceptions. They are really very important. You have to go through these exceptions. So gallium and cesium have very low melting point. Like if you will just keep, or you'll just place them on your arm, they will start melting. So they just start melting at a very low temperature. Iodine is a non-metal and it is lustrous. So we have read that all the non-metals are not lustrous, they are not shiny, but iodine being a non-metal is lustrous and shiny. And carbon here, so carbon is a non-metal and carbon exists in three different forms, and the existence of carbon in three different forms is called as the allotropy, and the three different forms of carbon are called as the allotropes, such as diamond, graphite and Buckminster fullerene, which we will be reading about those properties in our fourth chapter of our chemistry portion. So carbon being a non-metal exists in three different physical forms. So allotropes are basically those forms of of a same element which possess different physical property but same chemical property. So since they have different physical properties, so the appearance of all these three allotropes are different. They have a different structure and the appearance is also different. So diamond being a non-metal, and as we have read that non-metals are not hard, but diamond being a non-metal is very hard. It is almost the hardest element um, on earth. So diamond is an allotrope of carbon which is very hard, but graphite is an allotrope of carbon which is very soft. It can be cut with it's very easily broken, but graphite is lustrous, and graphite is the only non-metal or is the only allotrope of carbon which conducts the electricity. So there is an exception. Okay, just remember that. Then the alkali metals such as lithium, sodium, potassium are soft and they can be cut with a knife. So moving to the next activity, here is we have to take magnesium ribbons and some sulfur powder. So we will be having magnesium ribbon as metal and sulfur powder as non-metal. I hope all of you remember about magnesium ribbon. We have read about this in our first chapter where we have performed a just not perform, actually we have just read about this, that if we're gonna burn magnesium ribbon in the presence of oxygen, we will obtain magnesium oxide which is basic in nature. So in this activity also we have to take those magnesium oxide which we have got by burning the magnesium in the presence of oxygen, and we will dissolve it in water, and then we will do a litmus test. What we'll find, we will see that the magnesium oxides are basic in nature. That means they turns the red litmus into blue, because basis turns red litmus to blue. Okay, then the same thing we will be doing with sulfur, but sulfur will be burnt in a spatula, and then we're gonna place the spatula, we're gonna keep the spatula inside the test tube so that all the fumes which are produced by burning sulfur can be obtained in the test tube. So the fumes will be sulfur dioxide. Okay, so those fumes will be mixed with the water, and what we'll get, we will get a mixture of a non-metallic oxide. So non-metallic oxides are generally acidic in nature, so when we'll do the litmus test, they will turn the blue litmus into red. So here comes the main part of the chapter, that is the chemical properties of metal. So in the chemical properties of metal, there will be different properties such as when metal reacts with water, when metals react with non-metals, and so on. So first is when metals react with oxygen, what happens? So when metals react with oxygen, they convert into metal oxides, that is a basic oxide. Whenever any metal reacts with oxygen, it forms metal oxides, and metal oxides are basic in nature. Example, we have done this already in our first chapter, that is magnesium plus oxygen gets MgO, that is magnesium oxide. Here I've balanced the reaction, and when this magnesium oxide is dissolved in water, it produces a base that is called a magnesium hydroxide, and bases are always basic in nature. So whenever we will have a base, it will turn any red litmus to blue because it is a basic property of any base. So all the metals oxides are basic in nature. Okay, so this is a main thing, that metal plus oxygen will become metal oxides, and they are the basic oxides. So here are some examples which are mentioned in our book. I will be going with them. Okay, now, so the other example will be copper and oxygen. So copper react with oxygen to give copper oxide, which is also a basic in nature. I would like to tell you something that you would remember about the reactivity series. So in your book there is an reactivity series. Please do learn that. I will also give you in the written form the reactivity series, because that will help you a lot in this chapter, because every single thing will react with these metals with a sequence, that is the metals which are in the high order with the reactivity series, they will react very rapidly, and the metals which are below or in the least order in the reactivity series will react very steadily, or they won't react at all. So same, as we know that the potassium, sodium, potassium, lithium are in the top order of their reactivity series, so they will react very quickly. That is Sodium metal and potassium metal, they react with the oxygen, but they don't need to burn in the oxygen. They just react readily with the oxygen. As soon as they are exposed to the oxygen, they start burning. So sodium and potassium metal are so reactive that they just burn themselves even by not any igniting the heat or igniting the fire. They itself starts burning because they are so reactive that they burn with oxygen by their own. So that is why they are kept under the kerosene oil, because they are so reactive that they will even burn with the water. So they can't be kept in the air, they can't be kept inside the water, they have to be kept in the kerosene oil because they are very highly reactive. Okay, so here is the reaction. 2Na plus O2 gives Na2O, that is sodium oxide. Please, you have to learn all these reactions which are given in your book and which I am mentioning here, and you have to remember these points that sodium metal and potassium metal are very highly reactive, that they can also react in the oxygen and in the water. That is why they are kept under the kerosene oil. So they are very reactive, even they can react with oxygen at room temperature, even when the temperature is not very high. Okay, so when sodium reacts with oxygen, it forms sodium oxide, and when this sodium oxide is dissolved in water, it forms a base, which is called as sodium hydroxide. Same with the case of potassium. Potassium reacts with oxygen to give this potassium oxide, that is K2O only, not 2 is not here, K2O. And when this K2O is mixed with the water, it forms a base that is called KOH. And all these are basic in nature. Okay, now there is another thing which is called as an exception in this, because we have read that all the metal oxides are basic in nature. Property of the metals, which can be acidic oxide or which can be basic oxide, is called as amphoteric nature. So when aluminium is heated with the help is burned in the presence of oxygen, now it will not burn very easily, it will do take some time, because aluminium comes in the lower order than these potassium, sodium and all the other things. It is all also below the magnesium, so it will take a time to burn, but when it will be burned, it will form aluminium oxide, it's Al2O3, and this Al2O3 is amphoteric in nature. How? I will show you that amphoteric oxides are those metal oxides which shows basic as well as acidic behavior. So they can behave as acid or they can behave as basic. Only the oxides, not aluminium or zinc, the oxide form of these. So what are the amphoteric oxides? Those metal oxides which shows basic and acidic behavior. Example, there are only two amphoteric oxides, which is aluminium and zinc. So first we're gonna see the reaction of aluminium oxide with the acid. Since we have read this, all the acids reacts with metal to form salt, okay, and water, which we have read in chapter number 2. If you remember that, please go to the chapter once again if you have forgotten. So the acids react with bases to form salt and water. So here is the base, which is Al2O3, aluminium oxide, and here is the acid. So it is actually the metal oxide, which can also be a base. So when it reacts with HCl, it forms AlCl3, that is the salt, aluminium chloride and water is released. So this aluminium oxide is showing a basic property, which is very common because all the metal oxides are basic in nature. But when it reacts with a base, when a base, a metal oxide, which is a base itself, which reacts with base, what happens then? It do react with the base also, and a salt is produced. So this is a different property of this metallic oxide. So because of this, the aluminum oxides can react with an acid as well as with the base. It is called as amphoteric oxide. Now ampho and amphi means both. You would have learned about amphibians. Now amphi is a term which means both, like in both the things, okay, common. So when it reacts with a base like NaOH, it's sodium hydroxide, it gives sodium aluminate, that is NaAlO2, sodium aluminate with a salt. So Al2O3 is behaving as an acidic oxide. Okay, now zinc also holds the same property, that is when we burn zinc in the presence of oxygen, it forms zinc oxide, and when this zinc oxide is reacted with HCl, it forms zinc chloride and water. So basic oxides, okay, is fine, is reacting with acid and it's producing a salt. It's very common. But here zinc react with NaOH, which is a base, and produces a salt called as sodium zincate, which is Na2ZnO2, sodium zincate and water. So this is a acidic behavior of this metallic oxide, which is called as an amphoteric behavior. So amphoteric oxides are those oxides which show basic property and acidic behavior. Both are called as amphoteric oxides. Okay, so the next is iron metal. Now iron metal do not burn in the air, it do not burn in the air actually. So some iron flings can be burned in the air at a very high temperature, but iron generally do not burn in the air. But when it does, it happens that Fe plus O2. So Fe will react with O2, it will form Fe3O4. Now Fe3O4 is called as iron second and third oxide. That is, iron second means iron second is here like FeO is iron second, which is called as ferrous oxide, and iron 3 is Fe3O4, Fe2O4 actually, 2O3, which is called as ferric oxide. So when both of these are mixed, we call them as iron dot will be there, iron second and third oxide, because iron this is called as magnetite, which is formed in the earth, which has a magnetic property, and this is very rare to obtain, and this is very common. So we get both the things, that is Fe3O4 on heating the iron metal. And then the copper do not burn in the oxygen, it just becomes black, but it do not burn, and the black color is due to the formation of copper oxides. And there are many more metals which are in the lower order in the reactivity series which do not burn. So this is about your chapter today. So it was an introduction lecture today. In the next lecture, we will be reading about more of the chemical properties of metal, like how the metal react with water, how the metal react with non-metal, and how the formation of bonds are formed. So please read this in your book and go through the video so that you can understand more clearly and try to solve the question and answers. Till then, take rest and thank you.